Okay, I'd like to call the regular board meeting of January 28, 2015 to order at 7 p.m. Would you call the roll, please?
Mary Ann Desecki.
Here.
Allison Downs.
Here.
Tina Wanio here. Rich Flanagan.
Here.
Pat Godziszewski.
Here.
John Kowalski.
Here.
Dave Satura is absent.
Okay, and then at this point, do we ask if there's anything that needs to be, that people would like removed, or do we just move on?
No, we'll just move on. If
Okay.
somebody wants.
Yes, that's all for
Okay.
public participation. I do have something
Okay.
I wanted to discuss.
Allison?
Yes. I had sent Kim an email asking about our iPads. And she had sent it out for everybody to respond if you're using the iPad. The only person that responded is Tina. Okay.
Rich responded.
I responded too.
And I think Mary Ann
Okay.
responded too.
I didn't hear we didn't hear anything from John or Pat. My concern is we got iPads. The purpose was to go paperless. It seems every meeting we come to that you don't use your iPads. We're still delivering paper packets to your house, which is probably about 500 pieces of paper a meeting. My question is, well, I have a couple. First of all, why aren't you using the school issue iPad for the meetings? Pat?
Oh, me?
Yeah, I'm looking right at you, yes.
Okay. Well, I don't like using the iPad for the meetings. I like paper.
Okay. And John, what's with
Same
your?
thing, I'd rather have the paper.
Okay. My next question is, where is your iPad?
Right here. You want it back?
That was gonna be my suggestion.
Okay.
Pat, do you never
have it
use
back.
yours?
No, I wouldn't say never. I probably don't have the skills to use it as well as you guys do, but
Okay.
I'm developing them.
Okay, my issue is, if you're not using this, it should be returned to the school. It's a
Yes.
waste of a resource to be sitting at your house and you're not using it. And we're delivering paper packets to you. So yes, John, if you have it and you're not going to use it, turn it back to the school and they can hand it over to somebody who will use it.
Okay?
Okay?
Thanks.
And does Dave, I don't know about Dave. We'll have
Well,
to-
he's not here, so why
Right,
don't we
we'll
let
wait
him
till he's
respond
here.
himself?
Okay, thank you. That was,
Okay. And then the second item under old business is the letter dated November 4, 2014, sent to the Board of Education's attorney Darcy Crea from Board President David Statura and Vice President Patricia Godziszewski. So what we've had here is a problem because David hasn't been here at the same time that this has been put on the agenda. And I talked to him about it, and he asked me not to respond to the questions, but what I suggested to him is that I just put the reasoning out there so that you could maybe try to understand where that letter was generated from. And the whole idea was that it appeared, and I don't know if this is true, and that's why we asked the attorney that, it appeared that the attorney was directing the board, strongly urging the board to convene a special meeting about a family in the district. And since 3 of us couldn't attend, the purpose of that meeting, the purpose of the letter rather, was to simply ask to have that rescheduled. And the reasoning behind it was laid out in the front part of the letter. So if it wasn't clear to people, hopefully that will make it clearer. That's where the letter came from. So we're not going to talk about, I'm not going to talk about it. You can talk about it. But
Absolutely.
I'm not going to talk about it anymore because Dave is not here.
Okay. Thank you for the reason why the letter was written. Unfortunately, there was so much to that letter that is not part of the reasoning. It doesn't even come to 1/10 of the reason or the parts of those letters that I want the questions answered. I understand you won't answer with Dave not here. Is there a thought to answer those questions that I presented that are part of the minutes that I believe Karen or Kathy, somebody sent you in writing. Is there any thought to possibly answering those questions?
I think I said yes as soon as Dave is here. And I'm here. The two of us should be. Because by policy, we were authorized to speak to the attorney. But instead of calling her, we asked her through a letter.
And asked her not to tell the rest of us.
Well, at that point,
I
it
don't
was
think there's
simply,
a policy saying that.
at that point, it was simply for information. If you read the letter.
I did,
At the end of the
multiple
letter,
times.
it said, if there's anything that isn't true, please advise. Because that's what we were trying to get to, is the truth.
And please do
But
not let the rest of the
specifically-
board know about this
Well,
letter.
it wasn't open for discussion.
I'm sorry,
You are a
anything,
board member. Everything should be open for
Excuse me,
discussion.
we're done with the
Anything
public
you
comments.
do here
Would you
should
please
be-
sit down and stop talking?
Anything you do
Thank you
should be
very
done
much.
right here at this table.
Thank you very much. Sit down and be quiet while we're having our meeting.
You're embarrassing.
Thank you. Sit down and be quiet so we can conduct a meeting, please, because we've had our public
Be honest.
participation. If you'd like to step out, if you need to vent, please step out. If you can be here while we're conducting our business, that's fine.
Here we are.
Thank you.
I'm gonna call you.
Okay, so anything else?
so, well, yeah, I mean, in essence, just so that we understand, there is no private business.
It wasn't
What-
business.
Well, it is, because we
If
had
you're
to pay our
requesting
lawyer.
to change the meeting, that
If-
is business.
If you're
You
requesting,
people asked to have a meeting apparently through the attorney.
No.
We were asking to just have the meeting when we could be there. That was it. It
This
wasn't
letter came
an
out after the
emergency.
meeting,
That's
Pat?
what we were trying to determine. Where's the emergency? So now when Dave gets back, we'll have a fuller discussion.
Pat, just so that everybody understands, there is no private business. You have no more
Exactly.
voice than the rest of us.
Exactly.
So
I'm not
telling
arguing
our
that
lawyer,
point.
telling our lawyer not to tell the rest of us,
I said it
that was
wasn't open for
dishonest.
discussion.
That was very, very dishonest.
No, it wasn't dishonest.
Extremely dishonest.
I disagree.
Well, so now, as we have this discussion, you will know we don't do that. We're all one voice. There is no leadership team
Clearly,
on this board.
we disagree
So
on many
basically-
things, Mrs. Tasecki.
Oh, absolutely. But there is no leadership team on this board, so what you know, we should all know. And basically,
And
this
when,
letter.
if she had ever responded to me, you would have all known.
No,
But
I
she did
believe the
not.
bottom of the letter said not to tell any of us.
No, I just didn't think it was.
My
at that-
business?
at
Did you
that-
not think it was my business?
At that point in time, it didn't seem to be an appropriate
It wasn't my business.
piece.
What you're
to
saying is
discuss.
it wasn't none of my business.
Well, now you're going to be talking to yourself, because I'm not
It
going
wasn't
to, I'm
any
not
of
going to
my
argue
business.
with you. I'm not.
Oh, I'm not going to argue with you either. I just want to know when you think we'll get the answers to my questions that are part of these minutes.
Maybe next month?
Maybe?
I don't know.
Well, we'll wait till next month.
Excuse me, excuse me, excuse
What
me.
you're doing
You
is
have no,
illegal.
you have
It's
no
illegal. It's
business
against the
talking
rules of how
now.
you govern as a body. What you've done by writing a letter behind everybody's back is
Please
not
stop
just
talking.
wrong, it's illegal.
Please,
Please
please,
what?
please,
Please what?
please stop talking. It's not your turn now. You had your turn.
Well, I guess
Yeah,
it's
but
still my
I
turn.
should be able to stand up and say you need to represent properly.
You're being disruptive. Please, stop.
No, she's kind of telling the truth.
She's just telling the
She's
truth.
being disruptive.
She's telling the truth.
Well, it's still my turn, so
Yeah,
the way
go
you
ahead.
are governing is incorrect, if you think you're governing. She's absolutely correct. What you did was absolutely wrong. What Dave did was absolutely wrong. I'm still not certain Dave wrote it, but you can't do it. I'm
Okay.
just telling you right now, you can't do it.
Thank you.
You can't do it anymore. What
Thank
she
you.
said is right. You are here to represent everybody sitting in this room, not yourself and not Dave. Everybody in this room, not just yourself.
Thank you.
so you don't do it? Thank you. I could keep talking.
You get 5 minutes.
Oh, no, I get as much as I want.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
no,
the
you
public
shut down
session.
Dave.
Well, he was in public session. He was standing up there as a public member, not as a board member.
Well, we do
I could
have
sit
other
here and
business.
ramble all
We do
night.
have other business to
Yeah,
discuss.
but you know what? I want to keep talking about this. I don't agree with what you did. I think what you did was extremely wrong. I think what you just did to one of our parents is extremely wrong.
She was out of order.
I don't know. I think she was correct. I think she was telling the truth.
Well, there's a
think you
time
didn't
and a
wanna
place,
hear it.
and this isn't it.
I think you
Why,
didn't
we're at
want
a
to hear
board
it.
meeting.
There's public participation.
You know what?
She
I would
had
like
an
to put on the
opportunity to
agenda
talk then.
That we bring our second participation back.
Okay.
We tried that.
It would give her a chance to come up and speak again later after this discussion. So I'd like to put on the agenda that we put that back.
I think I tried that, what, 2 meetings ago?
I think we'll try it again.
Okay. Since Dave was the one that initiated to begin with.
And that would have given Diane a place to speak. Okay.
Yes, as opposed to disrupting the meeting.
I can understand Diana's frustration, though, because
She's very frustrated.
we've been waiting for answers to these questions. Quite frankly, the tone of the letter shows a startling lack of respect for both fellow board members and the
public.
idea of fair governance. And I'm a little bit frustrated over the lack of response as well.
Well, I'm also frustrated by the lack of response that I got from the attorney, but I'm not going to vent in front of the board about it.
Pat, I'm going to have to correct you. It's Darcy Correa, I'm the board's counsel. I did respond to you
Yes.
on November 5th. The day after you wrote the letter, you got a response from me in writing. It was sent to the full board. So what you've stated is incorrect.
Could you have just told me and then
She did.
shared all
No,
of
no, hold
that
on.
with the board?
She did tell you.
I did tell you.
And what did you say?
I drafted you a response, and if you want, we can make that a public, I think what we should do is make that response a public document. It is a public document.
Yes,
course.
please.
And it should be shared with the public so that they can see the response also. But
I was
that-
just going to read it. Go ahead.
No, I mean, it's, the thing is that I want you guys to be able to conduct your business. It's important to me that this board be able to do what you've been elected to do, and when we get mired down in situations, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't spend time on this, because obviously the board is going to spend time on this and they want those questions answered. And I think that it would behoove you and Dave to come up with answers to those questions so that we can get past this issue and move forward, and
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's.
So when he is here and I am here, we will move forward on that.
Have you given any thought to preparing a statement or answers to the questions, outside of the meeting, or do you want to answer them verbally inside the meeting? Is that what you're thinking? You're
I
not
can't
gonna-
speak for Dave,
All right.
and so maybe when the two of us are
Yeah,
here.
what about you?
Well, I'm still
So-
thinking
no,
about
yeah.
it.
It's fair. All right, so my response was written to you on Wednesday, November 5th at 2:12 p.m. And God help me, if you print it out, it's a 1.5-page email response. And it had 8 paragraphs. And I indicated, I responded to almost every issue that you raised in that 3-page letter to me. I answered them in 8 points. So just to be clear, there was a response sent to you. I think we should make that public so that people can understand the full flush of it. So there was your letter, there was my response where I notified all 7 board members that you had written. You did ask me specifically to keep it confidential, and you told me not to share it with the superintendent, and you asked me not to share it with the board.
Yes, it wasn't a point of discussion for them. It was the board president and vice president asking you for advice to make sure that we understood what the whole sense of this was. Why are we calling a special meeting? That is what was not clear to us. And it was not clear to us why you were directing it rather than having board members ask for the special meeting.
The board did ask for the special meeting.
Well, that isn't the way I understood it. So that's why we were asking for clarification.
And I explained to you, Pat, that your statement, your PS was specifically that this note is sent as a confidential document to you, meaning me, from the president and vice president. It is not intended to serve as a discussion between you and the superintendent or other members of the district. Please do not share, but call if we have any significant part of this wrong. As soon as I got that, as you know, I immediately sent it to all 7 board members. I represent the full board. I do not represent individual members. I do not represent you or Dave. I represent all 7 of you.
Thank you.
That's
I
how it
agree.
works.
I agree.
And I explained that to you, and I explained that, unfortunately, that I would not keep anything confidential. So if I get a communication from Tina, or I get a communication from John, or I get one from Rich, or any of the board members, it'll always be shared with the 7 of you to the extent it's board business, right? I mean, and I have always done that, and you have my word that that is how this is going to
Yes, thank
work.
you. It was simply a request to change the date of the meeting.
It was more than that.
No,
It was absolutely,
it
Pat,
was-
that is,
What does the last paragraph say?
What about the
Pat,
3
It's
other
about
I got it.
changing the date of the meeting
I got it.
so that,
I got it. We don't have to reread the
so
letter.
that the entire board could be present, not just the 4 people who apparently agreed with the superintendent.
Pat, the letter goes well beyond that. So it's a 3-page letter. I have it right in front of me, and you go well beyond that. And I am not going to argue with you, but that is simply,
Fine.
that's just not true. So what?
Well, that's your interpretation. You can't really say that it's not true.
You've got that in there about rescheduling the date. I don't dispute that.
Right, and
But-
that was the point of it.
Well, there's a lot of other points in there, I think, is what. So, but listen.
Well, maybe we'll do this when Dave is here so that his voice can also be heard.
Yeah.
And it's not just the board members, the superintendent, and the board attorney.
Well, Darcy stepped up
Why?
to the podium because I expressed an understanding of the frustration felt by Mrs. Cafaro, and you replied with, I was frustrated with the lack of response from the attorney, and Darcy is now proving that she responded. Maybe she didn't
Right,
respond the
not
way
as I
you wanted her to
asked,
respond,
not
but
as
she
I
still
asked.
responded.
Right.
I responded within 24 hours, and the letter that you sent was November 4th, and the
I think
special-
the meeting was scheduled for that time.
It was not. The meeting was scheduled for the evening of November 5th. So you
Right.
sent me the letter you sent 24 hours before that special board meeting
Right.
was held.
And it could have been postponed one day. That was our thinking.
Well, that's not what you suggested in the letter. You did suggest a postponement, but you did not suggest one day. I also was unaware, other than John had indicated that he could not be at that meeting, and you had indicated to me that you could not, but I was unaware that Dave could not be at that meeting, and that was the time that I think he was dealing with other issues, and I completely understood that. But, there was a majority of a quorum. There was a quorum of the board that was available to meet, and I explained that the meeting was going to proceed. You took issue with it, and that's fine, but what I would suggest is that you either, at the next board meeting, because I think the sooner this is addressed, the better, and sounds like your fellow board members want answers to those questions that they posed, and I would suggest that you and Dave work on either written responses, or you can do oral responses, but I would just add, I would suggest that we do that sooner rather than later, so that this isn't a
Thank you.
recurring topic.
I would like to add one more point of clarification, that the letter requesting the meeting and several dates proposed went out I think it was the Thursday or Friday before.
Correct,
the
the Friday
5th.
before, yes.
So there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days before the meeting for people to express that they could or could not go to the meeting.
That is correct, and I suggested a number of dates, and I said that I know Friday's bad for someone, and I know another date was bad for someone else, but we've got these other dates that we can look at. So it wasn't that we set a date and I basically shoved it down anyone's throat. I said, these are the dates that we're looking at. I'd like feedback, and the only feedback that I got was that day before, and we decided to go forward because we had 4 board members, and that is
And it was
the
already
process.
posted.
It had
The
been
agenda was already posted
Possibly 5. You didn't
48
know
hours in
about
advance, which is the law.
Correct. We had done a post. That is correct.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
And I just want to point out that it was 4 board members that thought this meeting would be good, which basically, I'm not sure what you meant by the board members and the superintendent, but this was our idea. we agreed with Darcy we needed to meet. It had really nothing to do with the superintendent, so I'm not sure what you meant by that.
Okay.
So that might be another question. What did you mean? Okay? I think I'd like to know that answer too.
Okay. Thank you.